Hello and welcome to our place in Sicily, where today we're going to see where our tree that we cut down, Carmelina, is headed to next. So we took Carmelina, our crane guy took Carmelina to the sawmill for us. By the way, the sawmill also making these crates and cutting other wood. And basically what you're seeing now are some sketches because Igor, the architect, asked me what did we want to do with this wood. And so I drew up some sketches in hopes that between him and the woodworker, we could know how to cut up the two big logs that were both about 4 meters long. And so we've got a number of different items here. We're going to focus on one, but I wanted to show you the whole sketch page. We had a pantry, built-in bookcase, the window desk in the guest house, and really more. But this was a good place to start. And let's take a look here at the dining room because we're going to focus on just one of the Carmelina projects. For those of you who are new to our channel, when the man who built this in the 1800s built it, he planted 2 trees and named them after his children. And this one that we had to cut down was Carmelina. And Carmelina is going to become our dining room table. We asked them to cut it so that the centerpieces became 2 sort of matching planks for the table. We want to keep it kind of casual, and this is what happened after we told them what we needed. So see those really big pieces? We asked them to cut 2 sections that were 6 centimeters tall so that we could have a big chunky table. I'm sure we'll get planed down and worked down a little more. We also wanted some of the round pieces to build an interesting sort of rustic coffee table, and then the rest we just said, cut them down and prep them so we can season them. So we went to watch the process, the handoff. Is now the crane guy who brought the logs here is now coming to pick these up from the sawmill and take them to the woodworker. I mean, it's like local logistics at its best. It was very cool to sort of watch this happen. And the sawmill gentleman also showed us some other trees that he's cut down, some chestnut that he's cut up in pieces, some big, beautiful planks. And I don't know, it's just kind of fun. It's fun to see, it was fun to see this part where they're trying to get them on there. Would have been really great if that centerpiece came out, but it didn't, so it didn't seem to stop the guys for more than 2 seconds. They adjusted and put some wood pieces underneath so that they could prop up the wood first and bring both sections in, because they're sort of like 2 full sets of stacks that make up the whole 2 trunks. And here you can see the crane guy looking at it, trying to figure out how he's going to get this in.
Well, not that one.
Our sawmill friend here was readjusting them basically on the lifters so that he could position them, as close to right the first time as he could. Now you can kind of see space in between the boards, and that is because there are little pieces of wood in between, because they need air in between them so they can season, dry out a little bit. I'm not sure how much we actually need to season these. I did a little research. This tree is called a Norfolk Island pine, but interestingly enough, it's not actually a pine. And it has been cut down for a year, almost exactly a year, maybe a little bit more. And when it was cut down, you did see a bunch of sort of resin sap come out of it. But we've since cut. I've played. If you saw my chainsaw piece, I've played with some pieces. Nothing has come out of anything that I've cut since then, and nothing came out of these. They've been sitting there for at least a day. It was almost immediately when we were looking at the other pieces. And I also did my online research because this isn't like a popular tree for the island, so it's not necessarily something these guys have worked with before. In fact, I think there's only 2 of this specific tree in our town, and I had both of them. And if there's more, they're still up, so nobody's worked with them. There's very few big tall trees because they had to be brought in a long time ago, 150 some years ago, to get this big and to be worth using as lumber. So the guys are collecting this other section. They're going to have to stack it, and then the next step is to meet the crane truck driver, who is so nice, and meet him over at the woodworker. But first, we've got to figure out how to stack these 2 on top of them. You can see the assistant here is basically running ahead of the very slow forklift. I called it a lifter before. That was silly. The forklift, but you can see those like half moon shape parts, and it's not what I had asked for originally, but now that I think of it, I think it's great because if we want to cut any like legs and have them turned or something, we have stock that we can cut down either way. So some of those, there's a very tiny piece balancing right on top, and I'm not sure what we can use that for at all, but I'm glad to have the whole tree. Oh, we missed. We missed the clearance on this, but they do a little, figuring here, moving around. This guy has driven a forklift very successfully for very many years, so I'm not worried at all. Okay, I was worried at first, then I realized this guy's a pro. Even working around that center divider between the 2 doors on the back of the truck. And it's been really fun to think of the projects that we want to use in the house. I mean, it's great to have the wood and to not have to pay for additional wood on top of custom cabinetry costs, which are definitely more affordable here in Sicily. But I think I'm more excited that even though we had to cut this tree down because she wasn't doing well and was likely going to fall over and ruin something at some point, plus she was shedding everything, very, very different than the health and the activity that was happening with the other tree. So we knew she wasn't well. And she was already too big. If she had been a smaller tree, we could have, probably had someone come in and do stuff to help save her. But it was too late, so we gave up the shade, but got a better view of the sea. And now we'll have a dining room table and a coffee table and a bookshelf and a pantry shelf and whatever else we can make out of her. We're going to make the best use we can, and I look forward to sort of seeing what the grain looks like once it's sanded and sealed, because it should pop. Very much like if you can think of like what a pine board looks like, and then if you put a coat of polyurethane on it, the grain sort of shows a little more, and you can see the knots a little more and stuff like that. But these should show like traces of blue and red, and we could even see that a little bit just when we were looking at these pieces. I love watching these guys, and they all have an opinion, and they're probably all right. The crane driver knows what he needs to get the doors shut, and the assistant on the right is just really there to move fast if we need to move something fast. But these guys were a delight, even with our very limited Italian, and they're limited to know English. we had a good time. And I think, for them it was fun to see Matt and I there and talking to them and sort of giving some value to the craftsmanship they do, even if it's just like the craftsmanship and the expertise of breaking down these giant trees. I guess it's a good thing that they didn't speak fluent English, or that I didn't speak fluent Italian, because I would have asked them so many questions like, has anybody else done this? What else did they build? How often does this happen? I would have asked them so many questions. So we kept it simple, and Carmelina is now loaded up and ready to head to the woodworker. Now, interestingly enough, this woodworker is just 2 doors down from the apartment that we live at. So now we just have to determine exactly how long this needs to season and dry, and then we will have our woodworker here start the building of all of our pieces. It's not a big rush for that. We got a lot to do, but we're really excited to be using Carmelina and her next phase of life. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, ciao ciao!